hate it when a game scares the hell out of us when we least expect it. In horror games, you know what you're getting into, but much nastier are seemingly normal games that suddenly surprise you with a scare. The games on this list completely freaked us out in that department. Here are 10 incredibly scary scenes in non-horror games. BioShock Infinite has some dark themes in its bright and colourful world, but we certainly wouldn't describe it as a horror game. It's all sunshine and beautiful colours with a splash of not-so-subtle racism. This is until you meet the Boys of Silence. In this part of the game, you are forced to sneak past them. If you get caught, you're in for one hell of a jump scare. We were very glad when we finally completed this part and could continue with the story.
Should be able to head downstairs and get to Elizabeth now.
There is no crane. They're all over me! Only Scarecrow.
The Arkham Knight series has always flirted with the horror genre. Who doesn't remember the famous Scarecrow sections in Arkham Asylum? However, the horror element in Batman Arkham Knight really freaked us out. When you start pulling yourself up onto the roof with a grappling hook, the horrible Man-Bat suddenly shows up. It really scared the hell out of us, and we couldn't get this side mission done fast enough. It's one of the most effective jump scares of recent years. The Ravenholm level in Half-Life 2 is a textbook example of horror in a non-horror game. Leftover corpses, traps, and fire scatter the former mining town. You can do some very creative killing with the gravity gun, making it one of our favourite levels in the game. Ravenholm was also to be the setting of the cancelled Half-Life 2 spin-off, Return to Ravenholm. It would be set shortly before the end of Half-Life 2, Episode 2. However, Valve decided to cancel it when so many other zombie games suddenly flooded the market.
I'm easy, as long as you don't try to slip me a Mickey.
You're a real angel, Max.
It was good stuff. Tasted sweet as honey going down.
Nothing personal. Can't risk you going berserk and getting Lisa killed.
Max Payne borrows heavily from the film noir genre and John Woo action movies. It also goes full horror in the nightmare levels of the game. The blood-curdling screams and a crying baby really show how messed up the mind of Max Payne is. The gameplay of this section is pretty bad and consists of you having to follow a trail of blood through a set of never-ending mazes. We like what the developers were trying to do here, but the execution could have been a little bit better.
No, 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 please God, no.
It's a ghost.
Kojima is no stranger to injecting horror moments into his Metal Gear series. We all remember the corpse corridor in Metal Gear Solid 1. The Devil's House level in the more recent Metal Gear Solid 5 is also very creepy. However, our favourite bit of horror is the sorrow fight in Metal Gear Solid 3.
Now you will know the sorrow of those whose lives you have ended.
During this boss fight, Snake is forced into a tragic, soul-crushing walk down memory lane. You witness all the enemies you decided to kill up until that point, including bosses. They torment you and condemn you for being such an evil bastard. The Thief reboot wasn't as epic as we'd hoped, but it did have one very awesome chapter dedicated to the horror genre. The Moira Asylum is scary as hell.
You shouldn't be here.
We screamed several times when playing this level. There's a dark lady that shows up from time to time, muffled in fog and dust. The frightening music and downright disturbing setting suddenly turn the game into Amnesia or Outlast. It kind of makes you wish that they would have made a great survival horror game instead. Surely Pokemon would never get scary. The bright, colourful world and cute monsters are as child-friendly as Elmo from Sesame Street. Well, that all changes when you visit Lavender Town in Pokemon Red and Blue. The creepy theme song gives it a real ghost town vibe. This place is one of the most undeniably off-putting places in an otherwise pleasant game. There is even an urban legend about Japanese kids killing themselves while listening to the music from Lavender Town. Creepy, to say the least.
Where are you?
Gone Home is a walking simulator with a great story, but that doesn't mean it's lacking in suspense. From the minute you step foot into the house, something seems off. Every room holds new secrets and stories, but there are no ghosts, ghouls, or phantoms of any kind. We tentatively peek around each corner, expecting something to jump out, but it never did. The basement section is the creepiest though, and we couldn't wait to get back into the less scary rooms of the house.
Get back here, Marine! That's an order! Take it!
Nothing about Halo is scary, well, except for the Flood. The Flood are a parasitic alien life form that's discovered at one point in the game. When you're playing a game about space soldiers shooting aliens, the last thing you expect to run into are space zombies. The Flood come in all shapes and sizes, so once you encounter them, you never know what variant the game will throw at you next. They truly are the most hated enemy among Halo players and one of the reasons nobody likes to play the dreaded library level. Sure, Vampire: The Masquerade Bloodlines is a game about vampires, but we couldn't call it a horror game. It's mostly about interactions with other vampires and humans in a very cool urban setting. That's until you enter the Ocean House Hotel. The game suddenly turns into a full-blown horror game as you hear voices, see ghosts, and get household objects hurled at you. The amount of terror that goes on in the Ocean House really makes it one of the most memorable levels of this excellent game. He's coming. What are the scariest scenes you've ever encountered in an otherwise normal game? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel.